Expats were fleeing Dubai 4 years ago as the financial crisis turned the Emirates' glitzy ambitions on its head. Quicker than expected recovery, helped by the unrest of the Arab Spring, has reminded people that Dubai is the easiest place to live in the Gulf. The city's more liberal atmosphere and great connections have made it the regional hub for bankers and businessmen. And with the emergence of a cultural scene, it's not just the tax-free sunshine and endless shopping that's attracting expats these days. Simone Sebastian, who works in the arts, met us at The Shelter, a workspace for freelancers. She says the financial crisis has stopped Dubai defining itself only in terms of money as the arts flourish.
I'm a long-time resident. I've been here for over 25 years. And I feel like in the last few years specifically, there has been this very interesting change because we've been growing obviously year by year, but the growth has been mostly focused on business and tourism. But in the last few years, there have been more non-commercial activities. People like Rami Farouk, who's an Emirati collector and patron of the arts, he's trying to do things which don't in any way have a commercial focus, which is a nice change, I think, for this city because we're kind of defined by that in a good or bad way. So yeah, I mean, the change that's been happening has been, I think, a better one. I think the financial crisis was potentially the kick that we needed because we weren't just, again, defining ourselves completely around, around money.
Simone, who's of Indian origin, was brought up in Dubai. Because of strict immigration laws, she and her mother have to reapply for a visa every 3 years, like other second and third generation expats.
It's a strange situation. I'm from here, I grew up here, but every 3 years I need a visa. I think I've come to terms with it a lot more because I think these days you sort of are a child of the world and it's a very hippie mentality and you can kind of feel comfortable with that idea. But I am bothered by the way that my mother, who's invested a lot of time in this country, she's lived here for over 3 decades, she's having to make that decision now of whether to stay once she decides to stop working or whether to move. And at her age, she's just wanting to maybe put her feet up and stay home. And this is home to her as well.
So what are the options for people like your mother?
Very few, actually. So my mother can either decide to, once she stops working, she basically has to find a way to stay in the country and essentially needs someone to sponsor her. And so her only options are either starting a business of her own or getting, someone to sponsor her while she decides to live here.
Soha Nashat, senior advisor at Barclays Wealth, moved to Dubai at the tail end of the boom 6 years ago. Brought up in Kuwait by a Syrian mother and Egyptian father, she now lives in her house on the Palm with 4 dogs and 7 cats, and her husband, Javier, who is from Spain.
What attracted me to it was just the vibrancy of the place, the fact that it is, obviously, it is a hub. It is very comfortable to use Dubai as a hub and to travel. If you're covering the Middle East, if you're covering the region, it's a perfect place from which to be based, to travel around the region.
One of the downsides is that many expatriates cling to cliques of their own nationality.
For sure there are cliques, there is no question about it, but I think what is interesting about Dubai is it is so full of different nationality. They tend to, their social circle tends to expand beyond nationality, beyond professional affiliation.
Tariq Fadlallah, head of asset management for Nomura in Dubai, also lives on the Palm, one of the city's shishiest addresses. Tariq, a Lebanese national married to a Finn, brought his family to Dubai after 13 years in Bahrain, a regional financial hub that has been hit by serious unrest over the past year. Unlike Bahrain, where half the population is national and the rest expatriate, in Dubai around 90% is foreign, leading to a very different environment.
One of the aspects of Bahrain that we liked was the fact that you could interact with the local population, where whether it was at work, whether it was in the social context, taxi drivers and hotel workers there are local. You don't get that interaction here in Dubai.
Tariq has sent his eldest son to boarding school in the UK, reflecting concerns about limited opportunities for teenagers.
As you go through your teenage years, it becomes more challenging to keep children in the Gulf as a general rule. In fact, my eldest son has already gone to boarding school in the UK exactly for that reason, and that is that the extracurricular activities in particular are much more challenging for teenagers than they are for younger children.
Dubai is still a young city, a fantasy land in a rough neighbourhood. It is still a tough place for the majority of expatriates, the low-income workers who eke out a meagre living, but the elite are still living the dream. This is Simeon Kerr for the Financial Times in Dubai.